Hello, folks. How are you today? My name is Zach Christopher Parry, and today we will be reviewing David Lynch's first film that he made and directed, Eraserhead. Now, I don't actually have the DVD for Eraserhead, but I have seen the film a number of times, and it's grown to be one of my most appreciated films and one of my favourite films to revisit. Now, the plot of Eraserhead is very weird. It's basically an art house film. That's essentially what it was intended to be made. It was made on a small budget of around $100,000, but it grew to be a cult classic and earned $7 million at the box office in the first month of it being released. Now, the plot of it involves this guy who his name is Henry, and he essentially lives in this industrial city. Essentially, it's this wasteland. Essentially, it looks almost apocalyptic and that. And he has a girlfriend. I don't know if it's a wife or something, but he has a fiance, girlfriend, whatever. And he learns out that he's a father. Essentially, he learns that he's a father of this child, and he learns that the child is an alien lizard creature, and and its wailing sounds drive him insane. Um, and that's essentially the plot of the film. It sounds weird, and it's like an hour and 17 minutes long. It's not even like a normal length of a film, which makes it even weirder. But essentially, it opens up where there's a weird, like, 2 minute scene at the start on the moon in space, and that's just for art purposes. And then it cuts to Henry walking home with his shopping. And essentially, his girlfriend Mary invites him to dinner with her family. And so he accepts, and he visits essentially his apartment with his groceries, and it's full of like really dirty and mouldy plants and all that. And it's very disturbing. The whole film's in black and white, by the way, so it adds to the gritty layer of it, which is very unique. So essentially, he goes over to Mary's house. Her mother and her father are there, and they sit down and they start eating dinner. But before they start eating dinner, Mary's mother goes into the back of the kitchen, into the back room, and her mother's in a weird wheelchair, and she's just staring silently. It's a bit arty-farty, this film, but if you love just like weirdness for the sake of weirdness, then it's really good. So anyway, they sit down, they start eating dinner, and then Henry pokes a fork in, I think it's a turkey leg or a chicken leg, and essentially Henry's disgusted when the chicken or the turkey or whatever it is starts to get up and move around. So it's essentially a cooked turkey, and it's moving around, it starts bleeding and everything, and essentially he's concerned about the chicken on the plate. And essentially, Mary's mother finds out that her daughter is pregnant, and there's an argument, and in fact, Mary's mother tries to kiss Henry, and it gets into a rag and all that. So, very weird, very uncomfortable situation, especially with the turkey scene, which is just weird as all hell. And essentially, Henry has a nosebleed, and Mary starts to think that what she has given birth to is not actually a child. She starts having conflicting feelings about like the pram and that, and about the baby, but you don't actually see the baby yet. It's not a thing until like later on. So essentially, Henry moves Mary into his apartment, and it's a one bedroom apartment. That's it. There's nothing else. There's a bathroom down the hall, but that's it. It's a one-bedroom flat, essentially. And it's very dark and gritty and disturbing. They put the baby in the pram on the other side of the room, and they put the child out on the side of the desk. And essentially, it's revealed that the child is an alien. It's essentially an alien lizard creature, like a mutant. And it starts screaming and wailing and all that, and starts driving Henry mad. And so she's been pregnant with this alien, whether it was him or not that impregnated her. Who knows? Who knows? That's never answered in the film. But the baby essentially wants food, and it cries and wails constantly, which is essentially what ends up driving Henry to insanity at that point. And all the meanwhile, basically, Mary wakes up and she says, "Oh, I'm going to go to work." So she gets in clothes, heads off, and she says, "I've had enough. I want to stay with my mother for the night," or something like that. She ends up getting out and going off, and Henry's the only one left with care for the baby. So, and this is where the film takes a bit of a turn, and Henry starts realising that the child is sick, or the alien mutant baby thing is sick. And he starts to notice spots and sores and that on the baby. And so he grabs like a water and that and food and feeds it. And essentially it starts to lose breathing and that. It's very, very weird. And then he has like an encounter with a woman in his hallway leading to his bedroom, and then I mean, like, it's so weird that I can't even describe it at this point. He starts having visions, seeing a man in the moon and that. And there's a lady that inhabits his radiator for some reason that's not ever explained. Like I said, very art housey, arty farty, weird film. But it's wild. It is wild. I mean, I'm even reading some of the stuff here in the film that is like plot point by plot point. And essentially, the baby ends up dying at some point. And it, like, pumps full of blood and that, and essentially Henry ends up getting blown up by the radiator or something like that. Something happens to Henry, I can't quite remember, and his head gets decapitated. So his head falls from the sky and it lands on the street, and there's these couple of boys that start playing football with it, and then they take it to this, I think it's like a pencil factory, a pen factory, something like that. And his head is turned into a giant eraser. So, or his head's turned into multiple erasers. And that's why it's called eraserhead, is because his head is basically a giant eraser for a pencil. And then all of a sudden Henry just wakes up. And he sees, he looks for the girl that's in the hallway that he had an encounter with. But he essentially wants to take a pair of scissors and remove the child's clothes. And it's essentially revealed that the child doesn't have any skin. And the bandages that it was wrapped up in held its internal organs and that. And together, which proceed to spill out after all the bandages are cut open. And essentially, Henry goes to town on it after being driven insane, and it gushes blood. I'm trying not to say anything bad because I don't want to get demonetized. But, and the power in the room basically like overloads and lights flicker on and off, and the child ends up growing in size, and the child's head is replaced with like a planet, like the moon or something. Like the child's head is replaced with a moon planet. So really weird that. But I can't say that it's not fun. I have a pretty good time watching this film because it's a bit unique and a bit different. You won't know where it's going from 1 minute to the next. And Henry basically appears amidst like this giant cloud of a razor, like you know when you shave like a pencil, and there's like a razor shavings. Essentially, he's in like a giant misty cloud of shavings. And then the side of the moon, which you see at the very start of the film, just bursts open and bursts apart. And there's a man on the moon, which you see at the start, and he starts struggling, pulling these levers and that, which emits like fire and that. And then the end of the film is that there's a scene with a lady, and she has like a crescent moon face. It's essentially, imagine doing an acid trip in black and white filter in 1970, and that's what this film is. It's an hour and 17 minutes of an acid trip. And yeah, she comes to him, hugs him and that, and then you get the iconic shot where he's looking like that, and he's scared, and his throat's tightening up, and then it ends, and then that's the end credits. Now, I will say, the characters in this film don't do a whole lot. Henry's the best one. Henry's the standout. It's not really going for that. It's just trying to be weird as all hell, and my god is it entertaining, but some of it is really outlandish and funny. It is so good. It's one of those films that when you watch it, you're like, I don't know how to describe. I'm struggling then. I don't know how to describe the plot of this film because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, what is Eraserhead? I don't know. It's about this guy that's having trouble with his girlfriend, but then it's also about this woman and this man on the moon. But it's also about this man that's trying to pull levers on the moon and stop the baby's head from exploding, and the radiator pressure in the fence. Like, none of it makes sense. None of it does. But if you really enjoy just being weirded out occasionally, then it makes for a really entertaining watch. And I really like this film. It's one of my favourites because it's just like, there's nothing else like it. There is nothing else like it. I mean, me and Logan here have watched Wavelength, which...
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Wavelength from 1967. Don't say that mean.
Please.
But essentially, Wavelength is essentially... The film is one shot. It's a shot of a room, a window.
And it just zooms...
And just zooms, over the course of 45 minutes, it zooms into this picture of waves, like ocean waves. It's not the same, but it's arty-farty. It's arty-farty. And there's nothing else that's quite like it. It's like avant-garde films. Like art house films. That don't make any sense, but yet they're creepy. And there's a really chilling sense to this film for some reason. Especially in the scene where he gets his head turned into a razor. It just looks like something out of an old black and white film. It looks like something out of Frankenstein. But it's really weird. But it's funny. It's fun. It's a fun film to watch, even though it's really weird. I mean, you got that whole thing about the gran in the wheelchair, like halfway through the film. You have the blood pouring out of the turkey. It's in black and white, so it's obviously chocolate. It's not actual blood that they use for the scene. But I don't know what else to say really, other than to say that it's a good film. If you want to be weirded out and you want to watch someone driving to insanity for an hour and 20 minutes, then good on you, because I watched it and I really like it. So I think there's even, if you look up the film Eraserhead, if I look up Eraserhead, it's on Apple TV. but I think it might even be on YouTube, like the full film. Because I remember watching it on YouTube like a year ago or 2 years ago. Sorry. Eraserhead. Eraserhead. Full movie. Okay, I don't think there is. No, there isn't. But if you ever get a chance to watch this film, be prepared because it is weird. It is weird as well, but if you stick with it, you'll enjoy it because it is so funny. But that's the end of this review. It's a weird review, but say hello, Logan, since you're standing there.
What?
Say hello.
Hello.
Say bye.
Bye.
But this is the end of the review. Stay tuned next week for
Another one.
another review that we'll do probably,
Yeah.
and we'll get into another good film, and yeah. So I don't have anything else to say. This is a bit of a weird video, but it was a bit of a weird film really to review. So see you all later. Bye.